Well, good morning. This is the 2026 Community Housing Development Organization Single Family Home Development Notice of Funding Availability Pre-Application Conference. This is in relation to the solicitation NOFA-2026-003. So I hope everyone's in the correct place this morning. I'm Lindsay Brew. I'm a staff analyst here at the Housing Community Development Department. I oversee the NOFA process, and I'll kind of be your go-to person as you move through the application process and have questions and things like that. We also are going to have some of our single family team members on the call, as well as our compliance team as well. So they'll all be presenting later in the slide deck. All right, I'm going to jump right into it. So to provide some background, this is a notice of funding availability, which is essentially like the city's grant program. We're looking for applicants to apply for these funds. The funding for this particular NOFA is $10,217,187 million. This is home investment partnerships funds, or we call home funds. The amount of funding awarded to individual applicants will be determined through our evaluation and underwriting process. So most likely one person will not receive all the funds. It will probably be dispersed among several applicants. We don't know until we see the applications and we complete the evaluation and also the underwriting. But that's the total pot of money that we're working with for this NOFA. I'm going to discuss the timeline that we're working with here. On June 5th, which was Friday, the NOFA was issued, and hopefully you all received that and have had a time to look through it. Today is our pre-application conference, which is an opportunity for you to ask questions and to hear about, the details of the NOFA and then how to apply, as well as all the compliance requirements. The question submittal deadline. So there is a deadline to submit questions to us regarding the NOFA, and that is June 30th. The preferred method to submit those questions is that email. You can see kind of tiny at the bottom of that chart. It's hcd_NOFA@houstontx.gov. That's just the easiest way for me to keep track of all the questions and make sure that they get answers. You can always call, but I find that, and I'll answer and give you your answer, but it's easier for me if I don't know the question to reach out to our single family team if I have it in writing. That just helps me get the best responses for you. And then the application deadline is July 8th, 2026, and that's at 5 p.m. All right, so to talk about the meat of the NOFA and what it's about, I'm going to pass the baton over to my colleague, Cassandra Thomas, and she's just going to discuss both the CHDO program and this NOFA.
Thank you, Lindsay, and thank everybody. I thank everybody for joining us on the call today to discuss the CHDO NOFA. Okay, we're going to jump right into this. It's the scope overview of the NOFA. With the City of Houston, we released the NOFA to expand its pool of certified CHDOs. Selected CHDOs will be required to develop and construct new single-family affordable home units within the City of Houston. Completed homes must be sold to eligible low to moderate income home buyers. Applicants must demonstrate the capacity to market and sell homes, including comprehensive affordable housing market and sales plans. Developer subsidy. The city provides a development subsidy in the form of a forgivable CHDO loan to bridge the gap between total eligible development costs and the affordable sales price. The subsidy covers the difference between what it costs to build the home and an income eligible first-time home buyer at or below 80% AMI. Excuse me, my throat is a little dry. Excuse me, 80% AMI and can afford to pay. The CHDO loan is forgiven upon successful project completion and sale to an eligible first-time home buyer. The total home investment per unit may not exceed HUD's current maximum per unit subsidy limits for the Houston maximum per unit subsidy amount, which is also the abbreviation of MSA. The CHDO is responsible for securing its own construction financing. The city's CHDO loan is a development subsidy. It is not a source of construction financing. And now we'll talk about the project criteria. Your project size must be a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 11 residential lots. Lots must be sized at approximately 4,000 square feet per development of one home or 5,000 square feet for the development of one duplex. You must also have site control, which consists of a warranty deed or proof of ownership, an executed purchase agreement, an option to purchase agreement, or another legally enforceable instrument demonstrating the applicant's ability to develop the proposed property. Location must be within the incorporated area of the city of Houston and must not be located in a 100-year floodplain or 500-year floodplain or floodway. The site condition must be free of hazardous materials, contamination, toxic chemicals and gases, and radioactive substances. Requirements for the construction of the CHDO homes: you must meet our minimum construction standards for the rehabilitation, construction, and new construction for single-family residents, the aging in place design standards, HUD single-family housing standards, building codes, the City of Houston's 2021 Construction Code Suite, the Energy Star certification. You must achieve Energy Star certification and comply with minimum IECC 2021 standards of equivalent and national green building standards silver certification or higher. Fortified home standards are also required. Energy efficiency: you must incorporate energy efficiency measures through construction materials, which are the HVAC systems, buildings designs, and site orientation. Okay, for the review process for our phase 1, the CHDO certification, CHDO program certification application documents will be reviewed to determine your eligibility. The second phase is the threshold review. Applicants that are certified as a CHDO will then have their NOFA application reviewed to determine if they meet the threshold. And in the third phase, which is the evaluation, NOFA applications that pass the threshold review will move to scoring. Scoring will be based on the criteria outlined in the NOFA. Your threshold items are 10 threshold factors. You have your CHDO certification, which is required. You must be in good standings with the city. You must be registered with sam.gov and not be debarred. At least 2 comparable housing developments completed within the past 5 years. Again, you must have site control which is required at the time of submission. Lot size minimum, which is a minimum of 4,000 square feet for a single family development, and for a duplex, it must be 5,000 square feet. Again, you must have a minimum of 4 lots and a maximum of 11 lots. You cannot be located in the 100-year or 500-year floodplain or floodway, and you must be located within the city limits of Houston. Builder warranty must include 2 years of workmanship and materials, 2 years for systems, and 10 years for structural. Your scoring criteria is based off of the organizational capacity, which is 20 points, development experience and past performance, which is 15 points, financial feasibility and capacity, which is also 15 points. You have your design, which will consist of 15 points. Cost reasonableness will be 10 points. Available housing development, marketing sales is 10 points. Construction standards and resilient home design is 7 points. And the project readiness is 5 points. Energy Star efficiency attributes is 5 points.
Okay,
Next slide.
thanks, Sandra. That was the
You're
last
welcome.
slide. A couple things about the process. It's a little different if anyone's ever applied for one of our NOFAs before. This one's a little bit different in the way that, back to this slide, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take all your documents that are required for you to become a certified CHDO, and our single family team is going to review those to determine if you qualify, and then if you could mute yourself, please. They're going to determine if you qualify, and then they're going to go through the certification process. Once they tell me, as the NOFA administrator, that you are now certified CHDO, then your application is going to go into what we call a threshold review. During that time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at your application and I'm going to compare it against those 10 threshold items right here. So I'm going to look to see, if you meet all those, if your proposed project meets all those, and then if everything is good, then your application is going to move to a scoring panel. And we have a team of evaluators that will be reviewing the applications. They will use the scoring criteria, which I highly suggest you read in more detail in the NOFA document, like the specifics of each of those criteria, and make sure that you meet in those criteria. They do have like how to get high points here, what you need to do to get points here. So read that very thoroughly and make sure that your application meets those to get maximum points, because the top applicants are going to be the ones that we recommend for award. And I'll go into more detail later in the presentation about how to actually apply the system that we use, how to upload your documents, that type of thing later. But next we have our compliance requirements. And so I'm going to let our compliance team members present their compliance sections.
Lindsay.
Yes,
Good morning. I just wanted to add one thing, I guess, as far as criteria that's required. I think that we may have missed on the slide, is that as a certified CHDO, you must also make sure that you have bonding capacity to be able to handle the size of the project that you are submitting. So for instance, if you're submitting a project for $10,000, you must be able to bond for the entire amount of $10,000. Also, you must make sure that your organization has liability insurance, which is a requirement. That's it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Cedric. All right. Okay. So next up we have Lakeisha Tates.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm Lakeisha Tates, a staff analyst with the Housing Community Development Compliance and Grants Administration Division, and I will be providing the compliance requirements for environmental HUD Section 3 in the City of Houston's Minority Women Small Business Enterprise and Pair Play programs for the 2026 CHDO NOFA pre-application conference today. The environmental requirements for this NOFA is governed by HUD regulations under 24 CFR Part 58, and due to the federal funds are being used, an environmental review is required under 24 CFR Part 58. A comprehensive review of the project scope will establish the necessary level of environmental review, which may involve obtaining HUD's authority to use grant funds approval. Once federal funding is submitted, no physical work or commitment of funds can occur until environmental clearance is obtained. For additional guidance, refer to 24 CFR 58.22, 58.34, and 58.35B. Next slide, please. Acquisition is the process of obtaining legal ownership or control of land, buildings, or other real estate interests through purchase, lease, or other legal means. An option agreement for acquisition of a proposed site is allowable prior to the receipt of the environmental clearance in order to establish the site control, but it must be contingent on the receipt of the environmental clearance. Examples of exempt activities under 24 CFR 58.34B includes studies, your administrative activities, inspections, purchase of tools, and engineering and design cost. Under 24 CFR 58.34B, the recipient does not have to submit a request for release of funds and certification, and no further approval from HUD or the state will be needed by the recipient for the drawdown of funds to carry out exempt activities and projects. However, the responsible entity must document in writing its determination that each activity or project is exempt and meets the condition specific for such exemption under this section. A current ASTM compliant Phase 1 environmental site assessment is required for the project site. The ESA must be completed in accordance with the STEM standards and must not be older than 6 months at the time of acquisition. This ensures that any potential environmental concerns are properly identified and evaluated before the property is acquired. So environmental review time. HCD Environmental Team has completed a comprehensive review and received authority to use grant funds from HUD. However, each individual property still requires a site-specific review. Typically, this review takes 45 to 60 days to complete, assuming there are no additional environmental review requirements and that the Phase 1 assessment is up to date. The timeline for the SSR review may vary due to several factors, including availability of the environmental site assessment reports, any required mitigation measures, and the type of construction plan. And in special circumstances, they may extend the review process, which includes the floodplain sites, which properties located in the 100-year or 500-year floodplain will require additional floodplain notice periods. The sites and contamination and mitigation needs means the properties with contamination issues, with toxic noise or historic preservation mitigation requirements may require additional time for review to ensure compliance. The Texas Historical Commission review may request additional information to better understand potential impacts of the HUD-funded projects on historic resources. Overall, while the standard SSR time is 45 to 60 days, these factors can influence the duration depending on the site-specific conditions. We're here to help, so if you need any assistance, please contact our environmental team at 832-394-6319 or email them at hcdenvironmental@houstontx.gov. We provide technical assistance training, environmental review support, and additional guidance as needed to help you navigate requirements and processes. All parties must adhere to the required no contact period during certain stages of the NOFA process. Next, we have our City of Houston's Minority Women Small Business Enterprise, known as MWSBE program requirements, which is governed by 2 CFR 85.36 and the City of Houston's Chapter 15 Ordinance Part 5. The purpose of the MWSBE program is to promote the growth and success of MWSBEs by ensuring local firms are afforded equal opportunities that promote utilization and eliminate discrimination. There is no established MWSBE goal included in the total NOFA due to the City of Houston's MWSBE policy changes that became effective March 16, 2026. The City of Houston now requires that all procurements must have a contract-specific analysis completed by the department program area to establish the MWSB participation goal. The established MWBE goal is expected to be determined after finalizing the project scope, the development structure, and a detailed engineering cost estimate for the awarded applicant once provided. The MWSBE goal will be included in the contract and will not exceed the city's 34% aspirational MWBE goal. So before City Council approval, the selected applicant and/or bidder must submit a compliant MWSB participation plan that demonstrates meeting the determined MWSB participation goal. Categorical goals are no longer permitted on City of Houston contracts. Construction contracts will now have a SBE goal, and the 4% cap on SBE participation has been removed. Bidders now can use service-disabled veteran-owned small business participation, veteran-owned small business participation, and people with disabilities enterprise participation, as well as LGBT business enterprise participation up to 4% in lieu of the MBE or the WBE participation. There is a 16% cap on Hispanic Americans performing under the MBE certification on construction contracts. Now, MBE primes are allowed to meet advertised goals by self-performing up to 50% of the total contract goals. The MWBE primes will have to choose which goal you would like to receive credit for on a construction project, the MBE or the WBE. Once a goal type of participation is selected, the MWBE prime participation credit will be capped at the proposed percentage or the approved goal, whichever one is lower. The prime contractor shall make sure good faith efforts toward award subcontracts or supply agreements to MWSBE to achieve the established goal requirements. Only firms certified through the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunity can be used to meet the established MWSBE goals. For more information about the City of Houston MWSBE certification process, you can visit houston.mwdbe.com. Next, we have our Section 3 program requirements, which are governed by 24 CFR Part 75. So the purpose and for Section 3, and there have been changes to the Section 3 program. So the Section 3 program requires that recipients of certain HUD financial assistance to the greatest extent possible provide training, employment, contracting, and other opportunities to low and very low income persons, especially recipients of government assistance for housing, particularly those who receive recipients of government assistance for housing or residents of the community in which the federal assistance is spent. Effective March the 16th, 2026, HUD has increased the monetary threshold for Section 3 requirements receiving housing community development financial assistance from a $200,000 threshold to a $300,000 threshold. HCD Section 3 policy has been updated as of April 26 to align with the Section 3 updates. So the Section 3 threshold and applicability covers projects such as housing rehabilitation, housing construction, and public housing projects. Section 3 requirements applies when you receive more than $300,000 in funding in HUD housing or community development funding, which a project qualifies as Section 3 applies to the entire project, even if only part of the funding comes from HUD. We have Section 3 contracting and employment criteria. So for our contracting, when feasible, priority for contracting opportunities is provided to business concerns that provide economic opportunities to Section 3 workers residing in the metropolitan area in which the project is located. The priority is if you're a Section 3 business that provide economic opportunities to Section 3 workers residing within the service area of the neighborhood of the project, and the service area is 1 mile radius of the project. The other is the Youth Build program. So the Youth Build participant is a community-based pre-apprentice program that provides job training, educational opportunities for at-risk youth between the age of 16 to 24. Now, the employment criteria, when feasible, priority for opportunities and training are provided to Section 3 workers within the metropolitan area of the project. The priority will be Section 3 workers residing within the service area of the neighborhood, which is a 1 mile radius of the project, or if you're a youth build participant. So we have our Section 3 definitions for a Section 3 worker, target worker, and a Section 3 business concern. For a Section 3 worker, if the worker's income for the previous or current calendar year is below the income limits established by HUD, if they are employed by a Section 3 business, or if they're a youth build participant, they can qualify as a Section 3 worker. Now, for a target Section 3 worker, target Section 3 worker will be anybody for housing community development financial assistance projects who are employed by a Section 3 business concern, or currently fit, or when hired, fit at least one of the categories in the past 5 years, meaning you lived within the service area neighborhood of the project, or you are a youth build participant that qualifies you as a Section 3 target worker. Now, for our Section 3 business concern certification, the criteria is that 1, 51% businesses owned and controlled by low or very low income persons who meet the annual income limits provided by HUD, or 2, over 75% of your labor hours performed for business was over the prior 3-month period performed by Section 3 workers. And the last criteria is if your business is at least 51% owned and controlled by current public housing residents or residents who currently live in Section 8 assistance. Next slide. So for this particular CHDO project, it's subject to Section 3 benchmark goals, which will require that 25% or more of the total labor hours worked must be performed by Section 3 workers, with at least 5% being performed by our target Section 3 workers. So there will be Section 3 reporting required on the CHDO project. So for Section 3 projects, recipients will be required to provide the labor hours reported. It must include the total number of labor hours worked on the Section 3 project by all workers, including labor hours worked by recipients, contractors, subcontractors, and that the recipient is required to or elect to report. So you're going to report your total labor hours worked, the total labor hours worked by Section 3 workers, and your total number of labor hours worked by target Section 3 workers. So we'll talk about our Section 3 certification. So now Housing Community Development recognized Section 3 certifications issued by other government and quasi-government agencies such as Houston Housing Authority, other local and state certifying agency, and we also now have a FELT certification for our Section 3 businesses, Section 3 workers, and target workers. All required forms can be downloaded on our website at houstontx.gov/section3.html/section3. Our contact information, if you have any questions, is hcdsection3@houstontx.gov. Next, last but not least, we have the City of Houston's Pay or Play program. So the City of Houston's Pay or Play program is governed by Executive Order 1 through 7. And the purpose of the City of Houston program is to require certain contractors to provide certain employees a minimum level of healthcare benefits or contribute a designated amount to use to be offset the cost of providing healthcare to uninsured people in the Houston and Harris County area. Next slide. So POP covered contracts will apply to any professional services, construction, or service type contract where the contract for the prime meets $100,000 or exceeds, and then for your subcontractors meets or exceeds $200,000, and this including your contingencies, amendments, supplemental terms, and if there are any change orders. So POP covered employees. This program applies to employees of a covered contractor or subcontractor, including contract laborers who are over the age of 18, work at least 30 hours for that employer, and works any amount of time on a covered city contract or subcontract. If a POP covered contractor elects the pay option, paid by contributing $1 per covered employee per regular hour for work performed under the contract with the city. Covered employees are those who are over the age of 18, work at least 30 hours per week with that employer, and work any amount of time on a city contract or subcontract. These funds are deposited into the Contractor Responsibility Fund, used to offset costs of providing health care to uninsured people in the Houston and Harris County area. Unfortunately, employees of the POP covered contractors will not receive the $1 per hour worked for performing under the contract with the city. If a POP covered contractor elects the play option, the contractor will provide healthcare benefits to covered employees. The healthcare benefits must meet or exceed the city's following standards. The employee must contribute no less than 75% per covered employee per month toward the total premium cost, and that's single healthcare coverage. And then the employee's contribution at any amount will be no greater than 25% of the monthly premium cost. And like I said, this is single health care coverage only. For additional information about Pay or Play, the city provides POP-related help, POP forms, and all POP-related updates. You can visit houstontx.gov/obo/popforms.html. This concludes the compliance requirements for Housing Community Development, Compliance, and Administration Grants portion as it relates to environmental, HUD Section 3, and the City of Houston MWSB and Pay or Play requirements. Thank you for your time, and we're excited about the opportunity to collaborate with you all.
Thank you, Lakeisha. We have another section. This is not technically compliance. This is complaints and appeals. And to present that, we have Chris Robinson.
But my name is Stefan Lawson. Good morning to everyone. I'm one of 3 members of the complaints and appeals team, and it's a pleasure to be here. Okay, so folks can complain to ACDD about pretty much any ACDD operations. Anyone, for example, process time, status update, program requirements, conflict of interest, anything that you for the most part, generally have a concern about or an issue with anything or how we operate, you can apply and file a complaint. Normally, we respond to complaints within 15 business days. As it relates to appeals, you can only file an appeal based on a ACDD determination. For example, if you were not awarded the award or you were denied the services for any reasons, you can apply and put in an appeal. We normally, in most circumstances, we respond to appeals within 30 days, but in the event of a NOFA, is a 7-day turnaround for appeals. Okay, so who can file what? Yeah, you good. Okay, yeah. So who could file what? So as it relates to complaints, any member of the public can file a complaint, and any program participant can file a complaint as well. When I say program participant, we're talking about any applicant, developer, contractors, agency bidders, vendors, or subrecipients. Anyone, for the most part, can file a complaint. But when it comes down to an appeal, only person that can file an appeal, like I previously said, is someone that has received a determination, and only folks that would have received the determination from us will be an ACDD participant, like we spoke about before. For anything that you file as it relates to a complaint or appeal, we would at minimum need your first and last name, address, phone number, email, the name of the project that you disagree with or have a concern with, and the reason for the complaint or the appeal. So for grounds for appeals, so when it comes down to NOFA, there's really like 3 options of why you will be filing an appeal. For non-recipient of awards, of course, if you didn't receive the funding and you don't agree with that, you can file an appeal. For the award amount, say that you were in fact awarded, the opportunity to work with ACDD, but you don't agree with the award calculation that was given or the determination that was made, then you can appeal that as well. And lastly, unresponsiveness. If you submit after the deadline, you will be marked as unresponsive. You will not be evaluated, and you cannot appeal that. So that's one thing that you can appeal. For example, if you fail to respond to any of the scoring criteria, then that's not something that can be appealed. So the timeline, as I said before, appeals are usually processed within 30 days, but when it comes down to a NOFA, you have 5 days to file an appeal. You will receive an acknowledgement within 1 business day. After you file your appeal, you have 5 days to provide any supporting documentation. When we say supporting documentation, basically just any further verification that you further want to use to justify why you feel you were, wrongly or unjustly denied. And 7 business days. Normally, we have a response for you for your appeal within 7 business days for NOFAs. And this is how you can reach us right here. You can reach us by hotline, email, or you can even come in person. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Stefan. All right, so now we're going to talk about like how to get to the NOFA and then also how to submit an application. So what I'm going to do, I think it actually works better if I share my screen so I can just walk it through. Okay. So what we have here is our Housing and Community Development Department website, and I'm on the funding page. So this is where we would have all of our funding opportunities. And right here in this first box, you can click on featured NOFAs available and click view. And now we can see our CHDO NOFA right here. This kind of gives you a broad overview. As many of you have asked about, if you can get a copy of the presentation and a recording, this is where it would be, one place. And now I'm going to show you the next place it will be. So if you click on view the NOFA down here in this block, this box right here, it brings you to the city's procurement website, which is called Beacon Bid. This is not only where NOFAs are submitted, this is where RFPs are submitted, even RFQs, all types of different procurement methods are here for the city. So it's a good website to know, period. So you can track, what the city has in terms of funding opportunities. So this particular solicitation is for our CHDO, and you can see here that it has all the information that you need, including all these attachments that you're going to need to complete your application. I'm logged in, so you can't really see truly what it would look like, because right here where it says registered at the top right corner, it would say get on the interest list, and you want to click that. It'll bring you to a screen where you put in your name, organization phone number, and email address. Then it will send you an email, and from that email, it will say get on the, or I'm sorry, it'll say get download the NOFA package, and it will also say submit your application. So you want to make sure you get that email after you get on the interest list. You can also choose in that when you're signing up with the get on the interest list, you can choose other topics that you're interested in, and you'll receive emails for that. So if you're interested in construction, you would put construction, and you'll get emails when the city has an open bid for construction. So once you're here at the Beacon Bid solicitation website, this is where all your information will be. When I put the recording, it will go on this site, and you will receive a note. If you're signed up, if you get on the interest list, you will receive a notification every time I change something. And I will be changing things to this page. What I will be doing is adding letters of clarifications, which is, if you submit a question and we answer it, then we publish a letter of clarification. If anything changes with the NOFA, we put it in a letter of clarification. Letters of clarification are part of the NOFA, and you're held to those letters. So make sure you keep visiting this website and stay on the notification list so that you can see when I publish things to this website. I wanted to show you, when you download this package, it'll come into a zip file. I've already downloaded it, so I'm going to see if I can show you a couple of the documents that are there as listed as attachments. One that you're definitely going to need is attachment C, which is the CHDO program certification application. Give it a second. So as part of the NOFA, we mentioned that you have to get certified as a CHDO. This document tells you exactly what is needed to do that. It has a very detailed document checklist that you will need to print and then collect those items. Do not wait until the last minute to collect these items. You will not have time. So if you are intending to apply, I would say print this checklist now and start collecting these. If you are a current CHDO, you still have to do a recertification, so it applies to you as well. So print this and start collecting these documents. Once you have collected the documents, you're putting them into Beacon Bid. So let's see. So see if you can see here, this is what it looks like when you're, submitting your application. It says CHDO certification application. You click on that. Everything that was included on that checklist is here. And you cannot not submit something. It says response required. You have to submit something. So if it's required, you're submitting it. If something is not applicable to you, you can upload a dummy document that says not applicable, but by and far almost all of the things on the checklist are required. So again, make sure you get this information together before the due date, because it will take you time to collect it and it will take you time to upload it. The good thing about Beacon Bid is you can keep coming back to it. You can start your application, take a break, come back, and it will save your information. Okay, the other thing is our threshold requirements that we discussed. So for every threshold requirement, we have a place where you upload that documentation. So if you need to, we require that you be in good standing with the city, meaning that you've paid your taxes, that you don't have any, outstanding or loans that are not paid. You would need to sign an attestation that says, hey, we're in good standing with the city, and then we verify that accuracy of that statement internally. You need to have your sam.gov registration, that you're not debarred, evidence that you have completed comparable housing developments, evidence of site control. Some of these like, for example, you need to upload your site plan here to show that you've met that your lot is 4,000 square feet. So for each one, there will be a requirement, and it should tell you exactly what you need to upload there. You can ask me at any time if you have trouble with this. I suggest getting this stuff together as soon as possible so you can ask questions before the question period ends. And it's the application documents. These are really about, these are what will be scored by the evaluation committee. So you've made it through the certification to be a CHDO. You've made it through the threshold requirements. Now we're talking about what are the evaluators going to score you on, and it's these documents under application documents. Let me show you this first thing called the application workbook, because this also has to be completed. This is the application workbook that needs to be completed. It has your information, the site information, the homes mix, what does it look like? How many bedrooms are you having? How many different designs are you having? The square footage, that type of information. Your sources, where is your, we need to see your construction loan to make sure it's there. How much are you requesting? That's this HCD home request. Do you have any other funding that you'll be contributing? And then your uses, how much does it cost to build this? One other document that I wanted to show you. This is a cost estimate form. If you've worked for the city building houses before, you may recognize it as our bid form. In this case, it's not necessarily a bid, it's just a cost estimate. It's telling us how much do you think it is going to cost to build this specific house. We only need one of these per design. And so you can see at the bottom here that I've titled them by the different designs. So for each design, you tell us like how much is it going to cost. And this is an estimate, we understand that. So this is just your best estimate on how much you think that this is going to cost. And then after you've collected all the documents, they're also the required forms, which are just standard forms by the city. When you finish with that, you can see at the bottom of the screen, it says submit your response, and then you submit. And it will say that we do for documents that are not material, meaning that they don't impact your score. Let's say you upload a form and you forgot a signature or something. We do have a small cure period, anywhere from maybe 2 to 3 days, where I will reach back out to you and say, can you submit additional documentation, or can you submit a new form? That doesn't apply to something like upload project summary. We're not going to let you remediate your project summary after it's been submitted, because that is a scoring that would impact your score. But threshold items, if I don't understand, let's say this is a good one, evidence of successfully completing at least 2 comparable housing developments. If I don't really understand like what you've submitted, or I have questions if it actually applies or is eligible, then I may reach out to you and say, can you explain in more detail about these housing developments? You should expect that. So when you are putting a contact information right here at the beginning, please make sure you put someone here who will be able to respond quickly, because oftentimes when I'm asking, there's a deadline. So I may say you need to respond by Wednesday at 5 p.m. And if the person who is receiving the emails here is not available, then you'll miss out and your application could not make it through to scoring. Okay, I think I've covered all of submitting. Okay, so application submission tips. These are things that I have learned as being the NOFA coordinator for a while now, things that I have seen people do or not do, and these are kind of what I've come up with as tips. One is do not start late. I wouldn't even wait until the last day to start submitting. There's going to be always some kind of technological issue. So I would start as soon as possible. And also, just because you can come back to the application, you can start uploading the documents you do have early. And then the ones you're still waiting on, you can start submitting them, as they come in. Review before final submission. You can revise your application at any time before the due date and time. So always go back and check, make sure everything looks the way you want it to. Correct file formats. Everything should be in PDF if possible. If it is the application workbook, which is an Excel document, the cost estimate form is an Excel document. Those are fine to submit in Excel. Everything else should be PDF. Go through the scoring criteria. We clearly outline how you get points. It's very transparent. So read those carefully and make sure that you are providing information that's going to get you those points. The scoring panel will only be scoring by what they see in your application. Don't assume that anyone knows anything, especially for CHDOs who have been our previous CHDOs. Don't assume that the evaluation panel knows anything in the past. So they're just going by the application. So make sure you tell your story very well. Make sure you have all your threshold requirements and the documents. Be clear and concise. Just try to get to the point. Speak to the scoring criteria and to your project summary. And then review the letter of clarification, as I stated before. Those letters of clarification are part of the NOFA, and I would always make sure I read all of them in case something changed in the requirements. And finally, the no contact periods. The no contact period began the day the NOFA was issued. So technically, you're already in it. And basically, you cannot reach out to anyone at the city in an attempt to influence the award decision. You cannot provide gifts, favors, anything of value to any city official employees. That includes HCD staff, any other department staff, council members, anybody who worked for the city. All the questions you have should be directed to hcd_NOFA@houstontx.gov. And if I don't know the answer, I'm the person who mans that email. If I don't know the answer, I'm reaching out to Cedric and his team on and finding the answer. But please don't reach out directly to the single family team. Reach out to the HCD NOFA staff just so that we can keep that transparency and make sure there's no appearance of conflict. It begins on the day the NOFA was issued, and then it ends the day that the award is approved by City Council. So that is kind of a long time, right? It's the day that we put the solicitation out, then we have to do threshold review, we have to do evaluations, then we have to get everything prepared to present to City Council. So it could be quite a long time. So if you have any question about if something's a violation of the no contact period, please reach out to me and I'll let you know. It's better to ask than to do it and get in trouble.
And Lindsay, I want to piggyback on that. So if you have a question or concern about something, there may be someone else that has that same question. So sending that information directly to Lindsay allows for it to go out to everybody that is applying for this NOFA. And that creates a better transparency for everybody.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't say that. When you submit a question, I take those questions and the answers and I put them in a letter of clarification so that everybody knows what the response is. I usually try to take out any identifying information, but the gist of the question and the response goes out to everyone. And if you have questions, you may have a compliance question, you can send it to me and then I'll route it over to our compliance team. Okay, I've already stated that. Oh, what I do want to say is that applicants are able to make public statements at City Council or City Council committees after the official selection has been made, placed on the agenda. All right, that's the end of the presentation. I wanted to open it up for questions and I'll look in the chat and see if there are any there as well. But if anyone wants to raise their hand and ask while we have everybody on the call, please feel free to do so. Selma, what is the expected contract period, beginning and end date? Does someone from single family want to answer that one?
Yes. So the contract period will be a 2-year contract period. So from the date that the contract is signed and approved by City Council, there will be a 2-year window ticking. We do ask that you put a timeline for construction and development of your project in your documents that are being provided, as we will look at that as well. We don't want a 2-year project as we want, the developer, builder, nonprofit to get in and get out. So, yeah.
Marquetta?
Oh, sorry, can you
Marquetta
hear me?
Harris? Yeah, now we can, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. My question is, are there any set-asides for service-disabled veteran, woman-owned small business? And if I'm not a beginner in this arena, but I am new in the area, are we able to bid on, I'm going to say maybe the smaller aspect? Does it have to be a certain financial threshold, or is it best that I just come on as a subcontractor with maybe another prime? What would you suggest for somebody that's like getting back into this in construction?
Want me to take that, Lindsay?
I think I can answer it. So I just wanted I want to be clear, like what we're looking for here is for developers to be certified as community housing development organizations. We call them CHDOs. It sounds like what you're providing is more like direct construction services, right? It wouldn't be like a developer role, right?
Well, I am on the path of becoming a developer, so I guess that's the reason why I'm a little. And I was like 15 minutes late, so please pardon me.
Okay.
But because that is the realm of what I want to do as a developer, but with the component of being a veteran and working with companies. Maybe I am a little confused. I thought that this was for those that are developing, but also there's a construction component that we need to provide. Please help me understand. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so what I think you'll run into is because there's quite a few requirements to become a certified CHDO, which is part of this application process. And then there's also the threshold requirements, which require already have developed, two comparable properties. So you may
Oh,
run into that. Yeah. Now,
okay.
once the awards have been made to the CHDOs, they will be responsible for their subcontractors. So that
Gotcha.
may be an option, and those names, whoever wins, that will be made public, and you can reach out to them and discuss those subcontract opportunities, if that makes sense.
It does. It makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So just to make sure I understand, I need to get at least 2 projects under my belt in order to apply to become a CHDO, and then I can start going after opportunities for CHDOs at the time.
Yeah, that's only one of the requirements, though. So back at the beginning of the slide deck, there was a list of them. You may want to go. There's quite a few for me to reiterate
Gotcha.
here, but
Okay.
we'll be sending that out. So then you can go through there and see. And also, if you want to talk offline with me, I'm happy to talk you through it too.
So
That would
you
be
can all,
great. I actually did email you this is Lindsay, right?
Yeah, this is Lindsay.
Okay, yes. I did email you. So, okay, yeah, I would love to talk offline. I'm sorry, sir. You were going to say something?
okay, yeah. So there are several criteria that are required to become a CHDO. My suggestion would be to visit hudexchange.org, and that will provide you the requirements to become a CHDO. And then the project does not necessarily have to be had to have been developed here in the Houston area. So if you had been doing development somewhere, California, Chicago, New York, somewhere, and you bring that development experience and you can show, the finished product, the timeline, and all of that of those projects to be counted, that's what we will be looking for.
Oh, perfect. Okay, yes, I will definitely review these slides and start working on that. And Lindsay, I will send another email to you so that we can talk offline. So thank you both so much. I really appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
So there was also a question in the chat. It said, There was a discussion regarding the cost could not be greater than the Houston max per subsidy. Please visit HUDexchange.org. Look for the Houston, Harris County, Woodlands to get those max subsidy amounts. So the maximum construction cost for a non-elevated structure, or if you're providing some type of structure that has an elevator, there's a construction max cost and subsidy amounts for those as well.
Thanks. What about this? Can a nonprofit partner with a developer for the funding? Cedric, do you mind answering that one?
Yes. So the answer is yes, but the caveat and a requirement of a CHDO is the requirements for you to develop the capacity to be able to handle these types of projects on your own. There is an opportunity in this NOFA that we will allow for someone that is starting to build capacity. So there is a component to be able to partner with that for-profit.
Okay, thanks. I think there's one more. Are there designated areas or wards prioritized for this opportunity?
The answer is no.
Yeah.
It's the greater Houston metropolitan area. If the property that you're developing on or looking to develop is within the city limits and pay taxes to the city of Houston, it's open. Please take into consideration, we do look at the design and fit of the actual neighborhood, and that development is going to be harmonious with the neighborhood that you're building in.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also that you're, as part of the application, you need to submit your marketing plan. How are you going to market this to different AMIs categories? So you might want to think about that too, as you're talking about where you're developing and how you're going to get people in. So consider that as well. Okay, I think we've answered them all. Did anyone else have a question? I know this is a lot of information, and it is a complex process. I'm not going to lie to you on that part, but I'm here to walk you through it. And if I don't know the answer, like I said, I will find someone who does. So don't hesitate to reach out and ask your questions. Just keep that June 30th date as the question deadline. The reason we have the question deadline is because I put the information in the letter of clarification, right? So I need a turnaround time for me to get the questions, get the answers, put them in a letter of clarification. If we keep going up into the very last moment, then not everybody will be able to get all the answers that were provided. So that's why we do that date, and just keep it in the back of your mind. And also, yeah, I'm excited to see the applications. Cedric, did you have anything else to say?
No, I just thank everybody for their time. We look for you guys to submit great proposals so that we can help continue to close the gap of affordable housing in the city. And thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.